This podcast brought to you by Digital Diamond Entertainment.
All right, Vex, run the intro.
So when am I getting paid for this?
Kind of like a podcast, sort of, but not really. We're podcast-ish.
What's this ish? What do you mean ish?
Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Hey, Happy New Year, and welcome back to the Podcast-ish podcast. I am your host, Pernell Ramlo, alongside John Vex and Will Hayes.
Hi.
Yeah. As you have noticed, we're switching things up a little bit here. We're getting more serious on this podcast. We got a couple other podcasts that are a little less serious, more comedy-wise, but this one's serious now. Serious.
Only right now.
Only just for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Ready? We're gonna 10 seconds of silence.
You may have noticed that from the intro we've had for the last 38 episodes.
we might be a little silly.
No, I just thought I found it funny that you said you may have noticed we're being serious, and really we haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah.
We're being serious. You may have noticed it because we had an intro.
This week we're going on a cultural appropriation.
Nice. Can I be culturally insensitive for a minute?
You're always culturally insensitive.
Thank you. Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Okay, go ahead.
A joke for all the listeners.
Hold on. Do we need to prepare them?
No.
Is this something that's going to get us fired off?
Probably, yeah. We'll get fired off the universe, yeah.
The universe? You're fired from the internet.
Universe, yes.
Yeah,
fired from the internet.
Let me have my beer first.
You can't fire me from anything I'm not getting paid for. I don't care who walks in this motherfucking room.
No. This is a joke courtesy of Mike Grassis, whom we haven't had on for a little while.
Mikey!
And we're missing him. But years and years ago, Mike hit me with a joke. And it is probably one of the best culturally and insensitive jokes I've ever heard. How many East Indians does it take to change a light bulb? Sikhs. My brother hit me with one the other day. What is the blood type of people from Taiwan?
What?
Type A.
This is pure Caribbean humor. This is really what he loves doing. We have sponsors. We have sponsors now. Into the new year, we figured we'd kick things off right. We went out and started getting some money for this thing. So this episode is brought to you by Lex on 17th Avenue, Chinook Mall.
Yeah.
For all your hype beast needs, got all those retro sneakers, great clothing. What do they got there? They got Bape.
Yeah, they got basically everything from Supreme to Bape to Jordan.
26 Dover.
They got I'm pretty sure you could probably find like the throwback shit. They got starter if you like that starter shit.
Right. They got the champion gear. They got Yeezys, Adidas, Nike, Jordan. Pretty much every retro you can ever imagine. I know Kobo copped them Concord 11s.
Yeah.
And if you guys missed out on that, make sure and go get some over at Lex. If you got something for Christmas you didn't like, I hope you got a gift receipt. Take that shit back, go to Lex, buy what you really want. Trust me, it's well worth it. Prices are off the hook, and you can't go wrong with the selection. And they treat their clothes like it's a piece of art.
Nice.
Everything's wrapped up in dry cleaning bags. It's dope. It's dope. I like it. Have you been there?
If you a hype beast, go there. All your hype beasts.
Yeah, have you been in the store?
I haven't been in the store yet, no.
Yeah, it's nice.
But I do need to go in and give thanks for the Jordans that he hooked up for me. So.
Yeah, it's good, man. I think I hooked him up. This nigga. It's me talking some shit under my breath. And that's it. Go to Lex. Check him out. Lex on 17th Avenue and in Chinook Mall. No website yet, which is weird. He's got to get a website going.
No, the website is there. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I think it's still under construction. I visited it the other day.
Oh, okay.
It's under construction.
All right, well, check out lex.com probably, I think, in the near future. Anyways, cultural appropriation.
Yo, that phrase, under your breath, is a real black thing. I've never seen a white person or white old people say that shit. Like, that's a real black Caribbean from Africa, the Caribbean. Like, I know what it is, but when someone says, "Oh, you gonna whisper under your breath," that's a real black statement.
Yeah.
Like, it's because if you think about the whole logic of it, that's impossible to whisper under your breath. You're using your breath to whisper. But only black people would say, "Oh, you gonna whisper under your breath?"
Yeah,
it's called a redundant statement.
Yeah. Only black people come up with really redundant
like that. We are really redundant.
Well,
so
no,
it's okay.
I will not say it's redundant necessarily. I would say it's more of emphasizing.
Emphasis on the wrong syllable?
No. We're not emphasizing the wrong syllable. We're just making sure the point is gotten.
Now,
right?
Where are you going with this?
When white people
When
say
you look at
it,
me like that, it scares me, dog.
when white people say it, they're just appropriating our culture, which leads us into the.
Nice segue.
I like that.
Completely off base,
I
but
wouldn't-
cool. I
wouldn't
like
say
it.
so.
That-
Right? But Trinidadians will say something like, in order to bring the point across, like, are you stupid for spite?
Right? Because it's like saying like can only be one reason why you that stupid because we
Yeah.
know you're not that stupid.
Yeah.
You're only being stupid to piss me off.
It's weird when both you guys are looking at me like I'm supposed to answer these.
Nah, it's
And I don't have answers to any of these.
it's rhetorical.
You're rhetorical. That is putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
You see how I brought it back in?
It's a good thing we're taking this podcast seriously now. Let me fucking tell you.
But yeah, no. That's you're right, Will. That is definitely something that you will find among the more African-based cultures in our world, right? I can only speak for Trinidad, where we say something like that girl nice too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not she's very nice. Nice too bad.
Yo, you look at everything like,
Yeah.
yo, that girl sick.
Yeah.
Yo, she fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, what is she, maggot full grown? What do you mean she fly?
And did she sprout wings?
Right?
Like-
Yo, them kicks is
Weird.
bad, son. No, they're actually pretty good. They're comfortable.
Yeah.
They fit me well. They're clean.
They got the soul where the soul should be.
Yeah, they got the laces. I laced them up.
On the good foot. Ha! That's what the soul should be. The soul should be on the good foot all the time. Where did James Brown?
Let's get into fucking cultural appropriation. Y'all get killed. So I'm looking on Wikipedia right now and just pull up cultural appropriation. Read along with me. This is the read along class, folks. Cultural appropriation, at times also phrased cultural misappropriation.
Misappropriation.
Yes, is the adoption.
So there is the masculine and feminine there.
I hate y'all. Is the
There's a
adoption?
missed appropriation?
Yeah.
Or is it a missed appropriation?
Yeah.
Missed.
Is there a Mrs.
You
appropriation?
see, this is why you can never ask black people to do something seriously. You just have to make them follow your lead.
Right. You just have to keep going, going ahead.
Just gotta
you
power
can't pause.
through.
You can't pause.
You see,
And if there's dumb
cultural
people listening,
misappropriation is the adaptation of elements of a minority culture by members of the dominant culture because of the presence of power imbalances that are a byproduct of say that word.
Colonialism.
Thank you. And depression.
when you eat too much, you
Colonialism.
colon colonializes. What?
We're actually laughing a lot
I
about
thought you
this.
wanted them to read along with you.
They are reading along with me. Well, if I could read, it'd be
You
great.
lost 'em.
I'm just Mayweathered them right there.
Right? Yo, did you hear Webby? You remember Webby? The rapper Webby?
Yeah.
Webby did the same thing and read the Hot 97 fucking little plug they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Webby is half retarded.
So he's just like the rest of us. Got it.
He cut Charlemagne. This is after they told him what the nigga's name was, and he says the nigga's name. He did an interview with him, and he still called him Charlemagne.
Congratulations, you made it 7 minutes.
What I say? Oh, I say nigga?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I appropriated the culture because I'm Canadian.
Okay, so far,
Listen,
according
I think-
to Wikipedia,
Yes, I think the reason we are laughing so much at this topic is because I myself find it extremely comical that this is even prevalent in today's society.
yeah, how is this a thing?
It's to me, this is it's hard to even find the right words for it, but to me, it's being oversensitive.
Oh,
Overly-
absolutely.
I mean, the world is full of cultures that have been mixed.
Yes.
Literally, like a Canadian culture is a melting pot of cultures. Even in Indian culture, right? You look at where it was colonialized by whites back in the day. I think that's where this first started.
Yeah, but
right?
even before the colonization, shall we say, or colonialization of India or other parts of the world, India itself had a culture of religions mixed, right? So they had Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, right? Like three prevalent different religions that would come with their own cultures, right? So, yeah, my whole thing about cultural appropriation, because according to that Wikipedia write-up, it's the majority culture taking the minority culture,
Right.
Right.
Which is weird because it could apparently in popular culture it could be any culture taking another person's any culture, right?
Right.
Well, let's look at it this way, because I'll tell you what my definition of cultural appropriation is. Now, And I'll tell you my definition of cultural appropriation. I'll tell you my definition of the word cultural appropriation is used today.
Speak on it, darky.
What is I'm the darky?
Here, yeah.
I think we're all almost exactly the
Right?
same color.
And it's wintertime.
Yeah,
What
us
is the
mixed breeds,
definition-
like, we start lightening up in the winter.
suppose.
What?
Yeah.
We Mexican.
Get that ashy skin in the cold.
Trump called me yesterday to build a wall. What is the definition of appropriation?
Well, to appropriate something is to take it without asking. It's basically theft.
Right now,
Ayyyyyy.
but there is appropriation along the lines isn't always negative.
True.
Right? Okay.
Very true.
So let's look at the positive definition of appropriation. Now,
Can we get the definition of appropriation?
Definition of
please?
appropriation: an act or instance of appropriating something. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
wow. Are you on JohnMadden.com?
No, I'm Mrs.
Is there a
Merriam-Webster.
boom in there?
And then the next definition is something that has been appropriated.
Okay,
Wow.
so basically,
Wow.
let's say appropriation can be taking on the characteristics of what you're interested in, right?
Yes.
Where's
Yep.
Or what you
dictionary?
believe in, something that you I want to say enjoy, but I'm looking for a word of
The act of taking something for your own use, usually without permission.
okay. And let's take out without permission shit. At this point, for cultural biases, you really don't need too much permission.
Okay.
True.
Now cultural, we all know what cultural means, right?
Yeah.
So-
now, honestly, I'd like to get a definition of culture as well.
Oh, sure.
You know,
yeah,
that's,
y'all
Yeah,
make
exactly.
I'm
That's
making you
today.
work today,
We got
man.
hip hop culture, we
Right.
got shoe culture,
Exactly.
we got black white culture. I don't even know if we're gonna break it down to its lowest common denominator.
Culture. Number one, the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively.
Right.
Number two is
like that one.
or biology is the cultivation of bacteria, tissue cells. That's
Well,
just
yeah,
what
that's,
culture.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
wrong type of
yeah.
culture, right? Because if I'm appropriating that type of culture, I'll get sick.
Do
Yeah.
you guys want to hear
John's got a
Merriam-Webster?
Petri just jacket.
So the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines culture as the customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. Also, the characteristic features of everyday existence, in parentheses, such as diversions or a way of life shared by people in a place or time.
Perfect.
Right.
That's perfect. So let's take the first one that you said because that was beautiful. I like that, especially when it comes to hip hop culture. That's an excellent definition. Let's take the second and the third one that you said. Now, cultural appropriation. Now, if you look at cultural appropriation or people that have been accused of cultural appropriation, it's basically people that enjoy something or enjoy an aspect of a culture, of a type of lifestyle or something like that, and they enjoy it so much, then they start to adopt pieces of it. They're not doing
Yep.
it maliciously. Cultural appropriation, in that, what I feel that's what cultural appropriation is. It exists, it's there, and it happens. Now, people of the culture that is quote unquote being appropriated have used the term cultural appropriation to kind of shun the people that weren't born into it, aren't of that skin tone, maybe country going into that or country coming into hip hop and then going back to country as a form of you might be doing this better than me, so I'm just gonna say you're culturally appropriating
Yeah, it comes
my
from a
culture.
place of
da, da, da.
jealousy now, right?
So cultural appropriation exists.
Yeah.
Everybody does it on every aspect.
Yeah, I don't-
If I just
yeah.
started loving shoes, I appropriated shoe culture because I love shoes. I love the Japanese lifestyle. If I ever travel to Japan, I'd be appropriating that culture to the fullest extent from old to new Japan. It happens. But it's the people of that culture that either see as being done by someone that's not quote unquote born of it or bred into it
Or worthy of
doing
it.
it better. But yeah, or worthy of it. That's a whole different thing. Now if you think someone's not worthy of your culture, that's a whole supremacy talk.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even want to go there.
I think
haven't had that many drinks.
That's exactly where this conversation is going to head to.
The supremacy talk?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I'm just not. Not
No, I
eventually.
said okay.
No, eventually.
No, I'm agree. Okay, cool.
All right.
Shit.
All right.
You the boss. Boss. Get off your horse. Put the shotgun down, boss.
Can't do it. Get back in them fields and pick my cotton.
If you're Joe Cotton, you picking your damn self. It's 2018.
Yeah, we've just appropriated the Jim Crow culture.
Right? I'm a house Negro. I'll pour your sweet tea. But that's what I think. So cultural appropriation, I don't think cultural appropriation is bullshit. I think the way that term is used against people is bullshit.
Right.
At the end of the day, I think someone appropriating your culture at the same time is, if they appropriate it properly, they're contributing to that culture in their own specific way.
Okay. Let me give.
They're not being a Lear Cohen.
Right.
They're being
They're being a Post Malone. Excuse me.
A Snow.
Snow. I wouldn't say Post Malone.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
Post
Let
Malone
me give you guys-
contributed to us, but it killed 3 people.
Right. Let me give the listeners a little backstory. We just had a conversation here before we started, and I just said we're on the same page that cultural appropriation is bullshit, and that's where you said no, you don't think it's bullshit. That's what you came in with this, right? So, and let me just explain what I meant by what I said. I thought it was bullshit.
Yeah.
Is that I think it's bullshit that we use this term as a way to keep people out of our culture. To put up with this imaginary wall that people cannot come in and enjoy what we enjoy as well. That's why I think it's bullshit, right? And it's used in a way to almost to shun people and almost use as it's used almost as almost like racism would be used, right?
Well, yeah, and there's I find that there's a huge double standard in, shall we say, the SJW mentality, right?
That's a social justice word, in case you don't know.
So, and by that what I mean
Thank
is,
you. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
I do. Like, I'm not even being sarcastic, but I keep forgetting SJW. Like,
By that what I mean is, on one hand, so they try to have their cake and eat it too, right? They say on one hand, all cultures are equal. Right? So if all cultures are equal, then I should be able to represent any culture that I want.
1,000,000%.
But when you start doing that, when certain groups start doing that, then they're blasted with the cultural appropriation shaming.
yeah.
Right? No, hold on. Just to be very, very quick here. The place that I come from and the place that Parnell's father came from as well
South Calgary.
Yes, South Calgary. So South Calgary is in the Caribbean.
I'm sorry, I had to because
Yo, let me tell you something. The reason we moved to South Calgary because it's as close as we can get to the Caribbean while still being in Calgary at the time.
It's warmer too. Anyway,
That's true.
so the place that Parnell's father is from and the country that I come from, they both have a mix of many cultures brought together to make one culture, so to speak. Right? Now, that being said, each one of these cultures is not only recognized but also celebrated. Right? All of the components of our, shall we say, umbrella culture. Right? So it's not a problem to go to an East Indian Trinidadian's house and eat Creole food. Right? Or it's not a problem to go to a white Trinidadian's house and get Chinese food.
Well, let's address that before you move forward. Why do you think that is? Is that because you're being invited into the culture
No,
enjoy this?
No, it has nothing to do with being invited in or not being invited at all or whatever,
you're
right?
just celebrating and representing it correctly and in a positive and forward-moving manner, though. So if let's say you're appropriating a culture, but you're appropriating the stereotypes of that culture, then that cultural appropriation stigma can get thrown at you without bias. But when you're like, I love the Chinese culture, you're doing what John is saying, inviting people over, you're serving Chinese food, you may have Chinese decor, you may even went out and studied for years to learn Mandarin, and you have a bunch of Chinese friends. You could be. Keep going, because I have some shit I want to say.
because
I was going to say stereotypes are typically rooted within truth, right? That's why stereotypes exist.
I
and that's,
agree.
I just wanted to address that real quick.
Generalizations.
What I was going to get to with that was that if let's say I'm invited into a Russian house and I eat chicken Kiev, if they even eat that, I don't even know, right? And whatever or borscht or whatever they're eating, right? I eat that, but then I'm accepted there because I'm eating because they cooked it. But if I go home and I try to cook it there, is that considered cultural appropriation at the same time?
Not at all.
You ever cook pasta at your house?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to.
See, no,
that's what we're gonna get to.
Now,
Watch.
with the Caribbean in particular, especially Guyana and Trinidad, I think what ended up happening was because there was so much race mixing that went on, that any hint of cultural appropriation was wiped out. Not only that, Guyanese and Trinidadians are usually very dry and common sense, right? So as soon as someone says, hey, you're appropriating my culture, right, they will probably get shouted down and blasted,
right?
Because that's nonsensical,
right?
But this is where I have an issue with it, right? It goes back to what I said earlier, right? Just to kind of
Kobo has an issue.
No,
has an issue with the topic.
I don't have an issue. The only issue I have generally with the term cultural appropriation is the way it's handled. Right? Like I said, the SJW, if all cultures are equal, then there should be no problem with what you deem to be cultural appropriation.
Right. And I think that stems back to what we were talking about before we started the podcast, is that in the Caribbean, we had a conversation about Christmas.
Yeah.
And how, for Christmas in a Caribbean household is a lot different than most households, right? You have food and you have different customs from all parts of the world, right? We do a thing called pepper pot, which you just explained to me was an African thing.
Yeah.
We have sour pork, which is Portuguese thing, right? We have palau, that's Spanish as well. We have we do a bunch of things that are our food. Our food is very multicultural.
Yeah,
right?
and in Trinidad we have pastels, which is a Latino thing.
Right, and with the food comes different cultures and different aspects to culture that we've integrated into it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think for us I'm speaking for the Caribbeans. It's not cultural appropriation because we're enjoying.
Actually, you know what, you said a very good word there: cultural integration. Right, that is more what we did. Right, and I think that there needs to be a line drawn, and people need to be able to discern between what is cultural integration and what is cultural appropriation. Right,
and is there much of a difference?
There is much of a difference.
Okay.
To me, there is a difference, but mainly in the way that it is handled and seen by people, like in the way it's observed.
Okay,
right. So if hip hop becomes huge in mainstream, which it has, right? It has integrated itself into the mainstream culture.
But I wouldn't even say that's an integration. I say that's more of an influence. Integration is more of a merge, where influence is more of a you're seeing it so much that has now become what's
right. But the reason I take issue with that is I think up until maybe the early 2000s we could have said influence. Right. But if you listen to someone like Ariana Grande now, right, most of her music sounds like what hip hop would have been.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of pop music now, and you see, I'm seeing it now, not even with hip hop necessarily these days, but with Caribbean music. Right? Look at how Major Lazer has gone from influencing what pop music is to pop music integrating a Caribbean sound. Right? Now, is that cultural appropriation? I wouldn't say so per se.
I wouldn't say it's. I would say. I wouldn't say it's cultural appropriation in the negative term that is used.
Yeah.
But I would say on the definition of appropriation and definition of culture, it's cultural appropriation. Yeah. I think that, like, dead ass, I'm gonna say it. Black people say people are being culture vultures and cultural appropriation because they're I don't know, they just see people that aren't black doing what black people do, and they're in their feelings about it.
Yeah.
And it's fucking stupid.
And it comes down to, again, and people are gonna probably catch feelings for me saying this, but if a culture has something and they're not, and again, there are a lot of factors in this, so I mean, I'm breaking it down to a very, very reductive state here. If a culture has something that they're not capitalizing upon, then they shouldn't feel a ways if someone else capitalizes upon it.
I agree.
Right? So, for example, it comes down to, like, you see a kid neglecting one of his toys. So he's playing with his Optimus Prime and he's not playing with his He-Man. Right? And he's having a high old time playing with his Transformers. And then his cousin comes over and grabs a He-Man and starts playing with it. And he's like, hey, that's my He-Man. You can't play with that. You've seen kids do that all the time. Right? To me, the whole cultural appropriation mindset in general comes from a point of immaturity. Right? Is that same mindset of, well, I'm not playing with it, but as soon as somebody else wants to play with it, that's mine.
Right. And I think that's a big thing in culture these days, and it's a big thing in all the cultures, because you can look at, we'll go back to the Japanese and Chinese cultures that you were speaking about, the Asian cultures, right? They're very accepting. Like if you go to Japan, I think Japan is probably one of the only places that really isn't there. There's still a class system almost in Japan, right? Where and that's why I think they're a little less accepting of people coming in and trying to be in their culture. They'll accept you once you're there. If you're living there and they see you around, they're going to accept you into their culture, right?
Yeah, but you need to prove yourself almost, right? Like I've heard stories. I used to be a huge wrestling fan back in the day, and I've heard stories of professional wrestlers, like US guys, going to Japan and having to prove themselves before they could even think of changing in the same arena as the Japanese wrestlers.
And that might be a little bit extreme, but at the end of the day, if you go to Japan, and Japan culturally, as far as it is as a culture, as far as that country is a lot different than if you say Canadian culture.
Yeah.
And if you go to Japan, you go to China, you go to Russia, wherever you go, I think, I don't know why I'm yelling, wherever you go, I think that you do have to prove yourself, no, I wouldn't say worthy, but prove yourself respectful enough to
respect is a big thing.
Start taking in a lot of the practices that the culture does. Now, of course, wherever you go, wherever you travel, I think it's not only respectful, but it's very smart to learn the language.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? But once you start, but if you just go there and be like, I want to be Japanese, and you don't even know, like, none of us here know what being Japanese is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And we never will.
Yeah, and we never will unless we go there and experience it for years.
Yeah.
So we go over there. I'm gonna say typical American. Because typical American, and when I say what I say, you can be like, yeah, I think I agree.
So
you
typical
stereo-
Westerner.
Yeah,
You're
typical
yeah. Okay, there you go.
Westerner. No, I'm gonna say American.
Okay.
I'm from Forest Lawn, Canada.
Typical North American.
We don't play like that. No, but I have family that listen from the States that are gonna text me tomorrow and be like, you know what, cuz when I come up there, I'm gonna show you a typical American Crenshaw rolling 60s, hurry up. But you go over there and the first thing you do is buy a bunch of kimonos, the flashiest ones you can find. All you eat is at the sushi spots. And you only listen to his Mr. Origato Roboto, whatever that song is.
Wow.
You know
Jesus.
what I'm saying?
It's like just
And then
it's
you go
like
over there,
Justin.
you be like, and then but you want to be you're playing like you want to be Japanese, but you haven't actually set foot in the culture to appropriate the
Right.
culture.
Yeah.
Is that
Now,
like?
I think,
Is that like Justin Trudeau going to India and wearing the sari and?
No, I think that's just stupid.
That was
no,
just
I think-
ridiculous.
no,
him trying
no,
to
no,
act
it-
like that, right?
No, he wasn't trying to act like anything. Somebody
said it was a good
said
idea.
I bet you 100% he wanted to do the most respectful thing for being over there, and someone gave him the worst advice he could
Yes.
get. I don't think that was
No,
just a
that
pure
wasn't, yeah,
Trudeau
that
decision.
wasn't cultural appropriation. That was
No.
pandering.
That was it was pandering and on the wrong level. So because at the end of the day, if you go somewhere and you say, so with dressing up
Right.
in traditional garb from wherever I'm going, would that be da 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 da? And maybe I should dress up like that and try to integrate and da 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 as while I'm there, showing as a form of respect. Because if you're green, and Justin Trudeau's green in the most pimp sense of the word, he's green. His nose is wide open when it comes to politics, wide open, regardless of who his dad is. And so he has the wrong advisors around him. And someone said, "Yeah, that's cool. Why didn't you grab one of the fucking ombudsmen from Surrey or Wally? They would have told you straight up,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
fam. You know what?
Just wear your
Just
three-piece
wear a
suit
suit
And the reason
and
I-
let me do the talking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And,
But
and the reason I brought that up is because it has been mentioned on several news blogs, several news stories that he was culturally appropriating India's culture, and it shouldn't have been
it's
done.
a trigger word.
Exactly.
It's a clickbait word,
It helps
and it's a very sorry to interrupt. Trigger word, clickbait word, and it's a very big brush to paint a small fence when you want to be generic about shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Now let's get into some academic study stuff. Were you done? You want to get one more point up?
No,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
wasn't done. So my whole point with cultural appropriation is
I'm not done yet either.
Yeah,
both
the
y'all.
three things I was saying: the trigger word,
Just turn my mic off.
the trigger word, general statement, and an easy way to paint a small fence. I think that's why it's used. Because people aren't using cultural appropriation. They're using cultural appropriation in the most basic way to define something, which may be true, but then they're using it as a negative with negative connotation. Yet it's only being said, and if you think about it, by the majority of the black community. But nobody
Yeah.
said Wu-Tang was culturally appropriating anything.
Yeah, when they were wearing Clark's
Yeah.
boots and
Nobody said anything in the 70s when all we wanted to do was make kung fu black exploitation movies and do all that extra shit. That wasn't cultural appropriation. Niggas in the 70s fought for integration.
Yeah.
We fought for quote unquote equality. But as soon as someone who's not black starts identifying as black, oh no, we want to segregate. All that the negative. When cultural appropriation is thrown out negatively, all that does is support racism and segregation.
Yeah.
Which like right now, Martin Luther King is having a nightmare.
Right.
yes, he's ruled over
and that's
15
where I was-
times in his
Yeah,
grave
his
already.
dream
Right.
just turned into Black Mirror.
Right, and
I
that's
think-
where I was going to when
Yeah.
I said we're going to turn into this KKK
Yeah,
thing.
no, and
and
I
it's
think
gonna
of it
change
this way too, right? Like, look at someone like Collie Buddz, right? Collie Buddz was he grew up in the Caribbean, but he's a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, right? Does some wicked dancehall. Is he culturally appropriating Caribbean culture, even though he is Caribbean?
No,
Right?
absolutely
Or-
not.
But if he is Caribbean, then Caribbean culture would be his culture.
Yeah, I don't-
Collie-
Yeah, but
if
this
Collie
is-
Buddz
yeah.
went to the States and started speaking with American accent
Yeah.
and made blues, then he's appropriating culture.
I think
but
what- I
is
think-
cultural appropriation. So I think
And I think what John's getting at there, sorry to interrupt, I think what John's getting at there is that just because of the color of your skin doesn't mean you're culturally appropriating things. It just where you've grown up and what culture you actually know from being brought up, right?
Yeah.
That's
but then
where
okay,
the
now
big
here's the
brush
other
to the
thing,
small
right?
fence comes in.
Yeah, now here's the other thing. So you look at US black culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
North American black culture is different than Caribbean black culture, let's say, for lack of a better description.
Yep.
And is also very different than African culture, right? You're not going to see a North American black guy putting a big ring in his lip to expand it. Right? Or walking around with a bunch of cows in the street and killing it and drinking its blood out of the neck or whatever the case is, right? Like some of the Maasai do, right? You know what I'm saying? But like, and they're not...
For
they're not,
everybody listening, he's not putting out a racist joke. This is true.
yeah.
This
Right.
happens.
But so okay, this is the issue I have with, let's say, someone looking at a white guy and saying you're appropriating hip hop culture, right? Hip hop culture is a very new thing on the global scale, right? And hip hop culture, if you really think about it, was only made possible by things that white people invented,
Absolutely.
right? Hip hop culture wouldn't be anywhere without a sampler.
Let it breathe.
Well, you could say there's
Let it breathe.
the sampler. That was a Kai.
No. Sampler was even before that. I'm talking back in the days of the Beatles. The first use that I know of a sampler was used with the Beatles.
We're talking
Right,
about
but
production, music production
I'm talking,
equipment.
No,
by
I know.
the way.
Thank you.
No, I'm talking to our listeners. I know
Oh.
you know what I'm talking
He's
about.
looking
dude.
right at me. We're talking about-
The
Thank
man
you.
who makes music.
No,
I
literally
thought
just cut
you
you
were
off.
talking about those little cups at Ben and Jerry's.
No, I thought
Yeah.
I thought
They
you
come
would,
with wooden spoons,
Right.
you know.
I
Like,
thought you would catch my eye contact and be like, okay, I gotta stop talking now, but apparently I didn't catch that.
But I think now, if I don't know if it was the sampler or the turntable, but there was one of those musical inventions was invented by a black dude, and it was instrumental in the way. Eat a bag of dicks. What's my? Okay.
Focus.
but yeah, the turntable. So
I can't remember which one it was,
Yeah.
but I know what you're saying. Like some
Yeah.
of it couldn't have been invented. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so okay, you have a collection of, shall we say, two different cultures put together,
Right.
To
Yeah,
make
yeah,
hip hop
yeah,
culture,
yeah.
right? Hip hop culture would not be possible without Jamaican influence.
100%.
Right.
Cool Herc. Shout out to Cool
DJ
Herc
Kool Herc.
coming over from Jamaica.
Right.
The sound clashes.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
100%.
So those are three different cultures already that I could name that have contributed to what the hip hop culture.
But let me
would
tell
be.
you like this. We can get into the whole bottom of cultural appropriation.
Yeah,
If you are not from Bushwick and Bushwick Ave,
yeah.
and you,
shouldn't
weren't
be doing.
born in 1979,
Yeah.
anything hip hop you do is an appropriation of that culture.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, Los Angeles, Houston, Chicago, all the black cultures there
Weren't doing
so
hip-hop.
different. They
Yeah.
weren't doing hip hop. It was
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think at the end of this podcast, I think the main focus or the main the moral of the story should be cultural appropriation is not a negative term. If someone uses it negative, flip it back and be like, yes.
Yeah.
That's my foreshadowing.
Okay.
That's my bird box.
Okay, we're gonna get into some academic study
But
here.
hold on, I still have more to
Jesus,
go.
okay.
Yeah, I still have more to go.
Not Jesus to you,
Right.
Jesus to him. Keep cutting you off. Keep going.
No. It's all good. It's all good.
He's the one who's Jesus' homeboy.
It's true.
Why are you Jesus and me?
All right, go ahead.
Me and Jesus have a wonderful working term. He loves me and I love him. We just don't go into each other's
Oh,
houses.
you caught that fucking look. You couldn't catch the one where I told you to shut up with my eyes. Got it.
He was telling me to shut up, but I wasn't the one talking.
Go ahead, John. What's up?
Yeah, now
How do I
there
do
is
that?
there is, however, I would say an offshoot, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me in this or not, right? Agree with me on this or not. But to me, there is an offshoot of what I would deem to be cultural appropriation that is negative.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now this is going to be controversial, I believe, but bear with me and let me know what you guys
I'm
think.
gonna get my Googles ready.
Yeah, please do.
I'm gonna get my Googles ready.
And I've seen this many, many times. Being a DJ for however long I've DJed, and Will, you've seen it, and Parnell, you've seen it. And not only have we seen it, we have capitalized on it.
Don't appropriate
White
my name,
girls.
bro.
He's gonna talk about white
Yes,
girls.
yeah.
I know he's talking
No,
about white girls.
No, for real.
It's a new phenomenon.
I know
like
he's
white
talking.
women
No, it's not.
with ass.
But it's not even a new phenomenon.
I know.
Right? Now, here's the
Ludicrous
thing.
lyrics, dog.
This is the thing. I have no problem, zero problem with people of different races getting together. Right? What I do have a problem with is someone of And we see it predominantly. I'm not trying to pick on anyone, but we see it predominantly with white girls going after black guys, right? The problem with that is the majority of the times I've seen it, it's not sincere. They're using these guys as a fashion accessory to look cool because hip hop culture is cool.
We're a handbag.
So the cool, yeah, exactly, right?
You though,
and you think about it like this too. I'm just sorry to interrupt, but I'm really just want to hang the hook off of your bag. Not only that niggas was a fashion accessory, how niggas talked, walked, act, and dressed, and the seed that they plant was a fashion accessory.
Yeah.
Now you look at white girls that were born and raised in Woodbine, Alberta. Why they speak in patois?
Yeah.
You look at white girls that go to Jimmy Dean's. Why they cooking fufu for their little white kids? Why does little Skip, who has a white dad, walking around with a do-rag and FUBU jeans? Because she wants to speak to the manager. Now, there's that. That's definitely cultural appropriation. That's the negative connotation because you're not taking the culture in order to contribute back to it.
Or even to appreciate it.
Or appreciate it. You're
Right.
doing it because it's cool.
Yeah.
Niggas
It's
that,
insincere.
yeah, black people that all they do, they want to cook Chinese food, act like they know kung fu, walk around with a fanny pack around their waist. Don't start clowning me now. And you know the fucking the kung fu pants. You know the pants they got the American
the Bruce
flag
Lee
on
pants,
it, the
yeah,
Bruce
man.
Lee pants, and they just walk around. That's cultural appropriation. You're doing something. You're using a culture like it's a fashion accessory because it's what's in, right? In the 90s, reggae and all that stuff. I'm talking about Calgary. Reggae and all that stuff was in. That's what you saw white girls doing. 2000s to about 2010 to whatever, or 2000 it was New York. 2010 to whatever, it was
It's
anybody
South,
with a
yeah.
southern accent. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
But no, I wouldn't necessarily call that. This is why I consider that an offshoot of cultural appropriation rather than it being actual cultural appropriation.
I'm glad
Because-
you said it's an offshoot because I was about to go in on both.
Yeah,
y'all.
because the thing is, they're not necessarily appropriating the culture, so to speak, right? What they're trying to do is, again, you use certain parts of that culture as a fashion accessory. Now, why is that a difference? Why is there a difference there? These white girls are not dressing up hip hop. They're not dressing up hood, right? They're not going around trying to rap, right?
well.
They're not tagging
The majority.
and they're not DJing, and they're not doing any of that.
You and
right?
your
Like,
absolute spam.
I haven't.
Like-
I haven't seen it, right? Like, but they want to look cool. They think this is the cool thing, right? So to me, that is again an offshoot of cultural appropriation. I would almost call that almost a form of slavery, to tell you the truth, right? Because they're not taking this person sincerely, right? I look at our mutual friends, Chris and Petra, right? Chris is my homeboy from Trinidad, black guy. Petra's from Croatia, she's white. Now, they started dating. They have a daughter together. They're a mixed race couple. But they've been together for 12 years. They're with each other not because of the color of their skin, but they're with each other because of the content of their character. Right? So, the reason I would categorize that almost like not what they're doing, but with these white girls we see going exclusively after brothers as almost a form of slavery is because they're not concerned with the content of these guys' character.
That's a contrast of, so Christian Petra is one.
Yeah,
and
that's
then-
the sincere version
Yeah.
of an interracial couple, right? My parents your parents, Parnell, your grandparents would be a sincere version of an interracial couple, right? Do I like you? Yes. Do you like me? Yes. End of story. What's the color of your skin?
I think me and-
you have a skin color. You and Cher,
Yeah, I was gonna say Sharon and I.
right? Yeah.
Sharon
And-
and all her relationships. You
Right?
would think she's a mud shark, but she just loves black people. She is more Jamaican than a lot of the Jamaicans I know. But let me tell you like this. I'm put it this way too, and it's not gonna be mind blowing, but for the listeners, this is something that they need to understand as well. I am a huge cultural appropriator. I was born in Calgary, Alberta. I am 117 times removed from any of my close first and second cousins in the United States of America. I've not grown up in a ghetto. We have a place that we call the hood only because it's not only in comparison. There might be one or two rundown houses, and you have to fight a couple of natives once or twice. It's not a hood. It's not a ghetto. It's not the projects.
Yeah.
I don't There's no reason why I should be like, you know what I'm saying? There's no reason I should be like nigga, nigga, nigga. There's no reason why I should say dead ass. I should be saying shit like
Dead ass.
I should be saying
dead
shit
ass.
like done no.
You
don't know.
I should be saying shit like, hey guy, come on guy, are you dumb guy? Like I should be saying like that. I as soon as, and when I was young, I wasn't who I am now. I was wearing skin tight. I was wearing the Alberta, a skin tight Alberta business suit, denim top to bottom.
Nice.
I had a Jerry curl, and in my fucking Walkman or in my little ghetto blaster was Prince, Michael Jackson, Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, all that stuff. Parliament, Funkadelic, you know what I'm saying? I watched Eddie Murphy for no reason. I even wanted the Eddie Murphy leather suit, so I just got the pants and the Michael Jackson jacket. Until my mom, I was nothing if it wasn't for 80s soul and R&B and funk.
Yeah.
That was me. I walked around and waved my hair like Rick James at 6 years old, fam. I was a pretty little motherfucker and I loved it. My mom gave me Fear of a Black Planet and America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube. At that point, I said, this is what I want to be. These are the people I want to look up to. And this is how I want to sound.
You see, now that's the flip side of cultural appropriation, right? So you have North American blacks who will act quote unquote white, right? And they are shamed by other North American blacks, right? For trying to live above your race or something of that nature.
Proof of
right?
point.
Trying to be white rich.
Exactly.
Listen, proof of
right?
point.
So,
Proof of point. First time I did the smoke.
uh-huh.
I said it 5 times. Proof of point. First time I did the smoke podcast.
Right.
And you got all these comments saying,
Oh,
yo, why you letting this white guy say nigga all the time?
time?
And he's like, we had to address it the next podcast saying,
Yo, peace black, motherfuckers. Like, fuck's wrong with you?
like,
But he speaks so proper.
all right.
Yeah, why
It's the weirdest thing that we could have culture and race and they're intermingled now.
Yeah.
And they're conflated to a point where they're almost one.
Yeah, which is again untrue, right? Like, I mean, I won't see any black North Americans trying to go back to Africa, right?
Well,
and
some of them.
well, very small handful, right?
You're
but
gonna hate
generally,
this term, the woke ones will want to.
yeah. But generally, and they get back there and they're like, "What the fuck am I doing here?"
Don't get me
Right.
started with woke.
Right?
But then you think about that, like, so you have those ones. You also have red-haired white
Irish.
Muslims. They
Yeah.
could be Irish
Yeah.
ancestry. They could
Yeah.
be, and they either I want to say it's from jail or just the people around them.
yeah, but no, one
they
of my
converted-
homeboys from back in the day,
Yeah.
this white dude named Craig, right?
Did he convert though?
he converted to Islam.
yeah, they convert to Islam.
Right? And he never went to jail. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything like that, right? It was just he woke up one day, decided to read the Quran, and he identified with what was in it.
And then they make that pilgrimage.
Right? Yeah, they go to Mecca and they
That's
make the Hajj.
yeah, that's cultural appropriation properly. But if you're a dude that just thinks it's cool to be Muslim, I'm just gonna stop eating pork. I'm not gonna read the Quran.
Yeah.
I'm gonna identify as Muslim. Watch Malcolm X 2 or 3 times. But you know what I'm saying? So that's the negative side of cultural appropriation.
That was like the things growing up when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old in Calgary. I knew a bunch of Lebanese guys, right? And the thing is, they would all claim to be Muslim, yet they were so strict on not eating pork, and yet they'll go do a lot of cocaine.
Yeah, and drink and
And, you know,
whatever, yeah.
But that's
Is that cultural appropriation, or was that because you're raised up?
No, that's
you're
just,
raised being
they're
that's
born
just
Muslim.
stupidity.
right.
it's you're born. It's not even stupidity. It's being young in the 90s.
Right.
You're young in the 90s in Calgary in the 90s. That's
true.
If you didn't do cocaine, you fucked too much. There's
Okay.
only 2 things you did in Calgary in the 90s if you had inhibitions.
All right,
This was cocaine and fucking.
So this is
I missed all of that then.
right. So this is the last time I'm going to say these 2 words: academic study.
Uh-huh.
We still going into that? I mean, at the end of the day, academia.
Academia.
Cultural appropriation is a relatively recent subject of academic study. Damn it, I said it again. The term emerged in the 1980s in discussions of post-colonial critiques of Western expansionisms, though the concept had been explored earlier, such as in some general observations on the problems of cultural colonialism by Kenneth Coote Smith in 1976.
Can you replace colonialism with a different word? Because you're fucking me up.
I don't care.
I don't know what colonism is.
Colonialism.
Colonism is when you eat Taco Bell too much and you appropriate the wrong culture. Tex-Mex ain't shit, fam. I'm telling you right now. Tex-Mex is not Mexican.
Cultural and racial theorist George Lipschitz has used the term strategic
Now it's funny to me.
anti-essentialism.
Lipschitz is funny to me now. I had a couple of beers. Keep going. Nigga can't talk when you talking shit. What is this, a podcast?
Has used the term strategic anti-essentialism to refer to the calculated use of a cultural form.
Okay, let me stop you right there. Strategic anti-essentialism. Those are words used specifically to confuse
Black people.
the argument. No,
Yeah.
not even just black.
That is
just the
It
argument.
is literally word salad.
It's word salad.
Right.
But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Outside of one's own, so to define oneself or one's group. Strategic anti-essentialism can be seen in both minority cultures and majority cultures, and is not confined only to the use of the other. However, Lipschitz argues
Lip shit. You stinky mouth motherfucker. His name Lipschitz.
when the majority culture attempts to strategically anti-essentialize itself by appropriating a minority, it must take great care to recognize the specific socio-historical circumstances and significance of these cultural forms so as not to perpetuate the already existing majority versus minority unequal power relations. Word salad.
Yeah,
Damn,
so
that
basically
whole-
what they're saying is cultural appropriation is when the majority culture tries to appropriate things from a minority culture.
Absolutely.
Now, okay, by that definition, there is no such thing as cultural appropriation then. Because by and large, the majority culture in North America or the UK or Europe or whatever, right, is not trying to appropriate anybody's culture. By and large. By and large. I'm not saying there aren't individuals that aren't trying to insincerely emulate things from another culture, right? You know, but at the end of the day, that definition is weird. It doesn't make any sense.
So can we all can agree that as far as a basic definition, cultural appropriation is not negative.
Yes.
Now, then we can all agree that as far as the majority use, it's used negatively.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's used insincerely. Let me put it that way.
So let's start a trend on this podcast. I think we should hashtag for the next week the people that use internet. I think that's a culture you should appropriate.
No.
Internet culture.
No.
Let's come up with a word that actually displays the negative part, the negative portion, and the negative aspect of quote unquote cultural appropriation, and separate it. Because
Well,
I feel like
before we get into
this,
that.
yeah, no, this like I mean at the end, it's something's on my head that I'm gonna forget. Because I feel like us saying that's, or not us, but people saying that's cultural appropriation, using it negative, is really stopping
Cultural enrichment.
the people that
Exactly.
love the
1,000,000%.
culture that
Yeah.
one
You
experience.
literally took the words out of my closing from that right there. That's fantastic. There's nothing more that you can say about it. Is that it
Oh,
literally?
with that, we out this motherfucker.
I do want to get into some other things before.
Yeah,
we
let's do it,
before-
let's do it.
I want to get into. So this is still off Wikipedia. This is a subsection called African American culture. The term wigger, common spelling WIGGA, is a slang term for a white person who adopts the mannerisms, language, fashions, and associated with African American culture, particularly hip hop. In Britain, the grime scene, often implying that imitation is being done badly, although usually with sincerity rather than mocking intent. Right?
Yeah.
So, growing up in the 90s, like we all did, mostly except for John, 'cause he's old,
Wow.
John was grown in the 90s. He had
He was-
a license.
he was grown.
He was buying cigarettes.
He doesn't have a license now.
He was flying planes.
What? Wigger was it was a common phrase tossed around. When I tossed it around, I never really meant anything by it. It was like when I said nigger, it was just a form of saying nigger to me.
Oh, not to me.
That's what I'm saying.
We used it in the most derogatory terms, and we only used it to the white people. That, let me tell you like this: we never called IP, we never called know-how, we never called Chino, we never called so many people I could list off that we all know.
Yeah.
Never called them a wigger.
Yeah.
But if you look at IP and know-how are black culture through and through.
1,000,000%.
But
they're more black than I am.
They have
Well, I wouldn't
a lot
even
of
say
people
black
are more
culture.
black
I would,
than you are.
I would say hip hop culture.
Hip hop culture.
Yeah.
Hip hop culture. But you just killed my joke against P. I was trying to get into some jokes.
My bad.
But
Thanks for go. I appreciate that.
they've never represented hip hop culture negatively ever.
Right.
As
When
a matter
we
of fact,
said
they represented better
they've
than a lot of
me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a negative stereotype in most times. Now, like, no, 5 words hit my mouth.
Yeah.
And I needed to stop. That was the lesser of 5
What
evils
is it
right
I said
there.
earlier? It's sad when a good sentence goes bad.
I was looking at him like, what the fuck?
That was
So you had to stop.
that was the lesser of 5 evils. So when we use wigger, it was in the most derogatory terms. I'm talking white dudes that always would say nigga, would represent the most negative stereotypes of black culture, not hip hop culture, black culture. And that's when it was like, and then you're calling them a wigger because you are trying to be something you're not. You're not trying to appropriate the culture and integrate into it and give back. You're just trying to be something that you're not.
Right.
You know, if you walking down the street saying nigga, I cap a nigga, me and my G, you and that dog, you're from Cranebridge.
Where?
Up the street, 16th, right beside Mount Royal. Isn't that Cambridge?
No.
Cambridge?
No.
What's
I don't
that?
know.
No.
Cranberry?
Cranberry, yes.
I don't know. You're
Cranberry.
from the same place. The name, you put it in the potato salad. Your mom's name is Susan, and she goes to the Catalina wine mixer every year.
Yo, the funny thing about this whole Wikipedia post is that they get a picture of Paul Wall as an example.
As an example of cultural appropriation.
As an example of hip hop fashion, it says, but it's right next to the word wigger, which makes me smile.
Wow.
Wall?
Now, who is that? What was that woman who was the head of the NAACP?
Rachel Dolezal.
Rachel Dolezal. Right? Now,
Is this positive or negative? Because I'm gonna say something right now. It was
love
not
Rachel.
negative.
Rachel's done a lot of things
This is
for
not
black people.
Yeah, this is not negative cultural appropriation.
No,
She just lied.
she's done a lot. She's
We
done a
should've
lot.
told
We all
the
do
truth.
that shit.
Here's the
No,
thing.
but she should have told the truth.
Here's the thing. I do not think she is culturally appropriating anybody. I think she's a liar. That's what she is.
Explain.
She's not black, but she's telling people she's black. So she's a liar.
That's the thing. That's not appropriating because
That's just lying.
She's transracial.
No, but
No
then
such
she
thing.
should. If
Doesn't
she was
exist.
no, if transracial does exist. But
Pardon
the
me?
thing is, like, trans anything can exist. If you want to identify as something, you identify as it. As far as scientifically and logically and whatever, fuck it. That there may be facts and logic that go against what you're saying.
I like how you stop. You put your head up. You start smiling.
No,
'cause you know.
deadass. Because facts and logic may go against what you're saying, but at the end of the day, feeling will overcome whatever you think. Now, this is not as far as
You're talking about culturally. You're not talking about how.
I'm talking about anything. If you feel strongly enough about something.
This took a
If
complete
someone
right
hits,
turn.
no, if you feel strongly enough about something and someone hits you with facts, it's not going to change how you feel about that thing. If you say that you associate with a female and you're male, regardless of the facts, and someone says, "Well, you have a penis, you're a male," you be like, "This is how I feel." You're not going to change their feelings. Now, if how they feel is not impending on anybody else's anything, so they're not trying to do anything that's taking away from somebody else, feel that way.
But you know
You're
what?
aware of the facts.
Up until 10 years ago, if you felt a way that was contrary to reality, you were called crazy.
Right, and
So-
you can still
and
be
you are
crazy and
crazy.
still be you can be crazy and still be a productive member of society.
Oh, I'm not
38
disagreeing with
and I've
that.
been doing it. But so if you identify, no, but let me tell you like this. So if you identify as a female and you're a male,
You're crazy.
you're crazy. But if you do not impose that craziness on anybody to say anything to you or to how they address everyday things, then that crazy is not a bad crazy. What did Seal say? You're never gonna survive unless you get a little bit crazy. Sometimes you need crazy people. But so
Did he just try and sing Seal very
So-
badly?
Yes.
Hold on,
So-
let's pause that for. Wait. Stop. Do it again.
no,
Give me Seal.
Seal. So that's my whole thing. Like at the end of the day, I understand the logic and I understand feelings, and this is something I ride the fence on. Pause. So Rachel, if Rachel Dolezal says that she
Bulldozer.
so she had let's say
Bulldozer.
who
I don't know. Go ahead.
Snowplow.
Yes.
She is white. So if you're white and you identify as black,
Right.
okay, cool. Say it, and then do what you did. She went to the NAACP. She fired a lot of people, got rid of a lot of corruption, and did a lot of things in organizations that made the NAACP better. But the thing that tarnishes that whole thing is she lied. And she continued with the lie until she was caught.
She
That's
claims
why
that she has a black father.
But she doesn't. Her dad
Right.
came out and said, "I'm not black." With the fucking white Southern accent.
Yeah.
But he looks black though.
No, he does not. He looks like the dude that sells propane on
You
the cartoon.
sound like
What's his
Cosby right
name?
now.
What's his name? The
Hank
dude,
Hill?
Hank Hill.
You sound like Cosby right there. Just
Yeah.
relax.
You
Relax
tell
a little bit.
Theo
You went
and
full pudding pop.
Camille.
Right? It's like you need to calm the fuck down for a second.
I'm going home and flicking a titty. So if you, but my whole thing. Okay, so let me just get this out of my fucking system.
Hurry up.
Or
don't. What do I care?
Identifying and appropriation is this is a whole fucking mud pile. No pun intended, but this is a whole fucking mud pile. Like we're getting
supposed to
into
take it seriously. We were good for
getting
half an
into
hour.
some murky fucking waters here. All I
Muddy
think is,
waters?
I agree with John.
With them
No,
sharks?
this is murky. It's not even muddy
with them
waters.
sharks?
Muddy Waters is a wonderful singer.
Exactly.
It was also winning for album. Great album.
Yeah.
Redman.
Oh, you talking about Redman? Redman's Muddy Waters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
His second album.
He's still number one on my list.
Number one for all time rappers.
Absolutely.
Number one.
Number one.
And your list doesn't waver.
Oh, it waves all the time.
Oh, this ain't the smoke. Fuck, I was just about to get into it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I agree with John.
Okay.
Okay, but my feeling is you identify with what you identify. Don't impose your identification on other people to make them come
Agree
out
with
of
you,
Don't
yeah.
force
logic.
them to use.
Yeah.
Don't force them to lie for
yes,
you.
Exactly.
A. B. Identify with what you identify, but be 150% honest with it and continue with that.
Okay.
C. Regardless of any noble thing you've done, if you lied to get to that position, it may not physically tarnish what you've done,
Right.
but it tarnishes everything you did.
All right.
Yeah.
Has this subject run its course?
No, I got stuff here. I'm flicking through.
No,
I'm
the
flicking-
Dolozol. Has that run its course?
Oh, yeah,
We're
yeah,
done
yeah,
with
yeah.
the
She's
Dolozol?
done, man. And you know
Okay.
what?
I
You know what?
still
I'm
eat it.
going to say something very incendiary. She wanted to be black so bad. She got it. She's unemployed and on food stamps.
My nigga. She is deaf right now. That's my nigga. How do you guys feel? We don't have sound effects on this one.
No, I left the other laptop at home.
Thank you.
I'm trying to travel light.
That's good. You said that last week too. How do we feel about? You done?
Well, I said shit once week and another week. I apologize. It won't happen again.
Appreciate that. How do you guys feel about costumes during Halloween?
Oh,
Isn't that
wear
what
whatever
you're
you
supposed
want,
to
man.
Blackface. And
No.
wait. Let me get to it first. Let me just hold
Okay.
on. Just hold on. I can understand why you may be a little bit offended if, let's say, a white dude, a white cowboy, puts on an Indian headdress for Halloween. I can understand that because of the historical implications.
But here's the thing.
Hold on, wait. I
Yeah.
can understand it, but I can't. I'm still not there yet.
Yeah.
I can understand why black people are offended if a white girl wears blackface. What I can't get behind is when a 6-year-old girl who's going to go trick-or-treating wears a blackface because her hero is Aretha Franklin. And we get upset about it.
Or Black Panther.
Or Black Panther
Right.
or anything like that.
Now, here's the thing. I can get behind a white girl wearing blackface.
So can I.
Right? I'd love to get behind
I meant the reasoning behind it.
Right. Oh, okay. You didn't mean physically. Okay, no. Whatever.
You're not
But,
gonna mock my culture and get the fucking privilege of this dick.
But
no.
But here's the
Stick
thing.
to your little glowworms. Fuck around from here.
Damn. But here's the thing.
Fuck.
This is the thing.
Black dick.
Right? And I think there was a case, I don't know if it was late or early last year or the year before, but it was the case of this white girl in the US for her graduation wore an oriental dress. And she got a lot of flack for it from white people. Right?
Not even the culture she was.
No, as a matter of fact, I watched a guy go around with the picture of this graduation picture of this girl, asking specifically Chinese, Japanese, whatever Asian, right? What they thought of it, and all of them were like, "This is great. This is
she looks
fantastic.
great.
Absolutely,
She looks fantastic.
yeah, lovely dress."
I remember it was blue,
Right?
blue and yellow dress.
I think it was. I can't remember the color. I think it was red and yellow, but
and
it
yellow?
could
I
have
thought
been
it
blue
was
and
blue.
But if
yellow.
it was,
turquoise
if it was
and yellow.
Halloween,
But no, but I
and
think
no,
it's
it was
the
just
same.
regular. But I'm saying
Yeah.
if it's not the same because if it was Halloween,
But
and she
no,
taped
hold
her
on,
eyes,
I just have a
and painted her face yellow.
Yeah, but there's a point I'm trying to get at here, right? For the most part, the cultural appropriation label is leveled at people on behalf of a certain group that they think is being marginalized. Right? So what Parnell brought up, that whole a white guy wearing an Indian headdress, I have never heard a native go, oh, that's cultural appropriation. Most of them are like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Or maybe it's kind of funny, but they're not being insulted. But it's white people getting insulted on behalf of minorities and saying other white people shouldn't do that.
That's weird.
Right? But that's what you see happening a lot, right?
When white people get offended about that's weird to me. That makes me wonder if I should be offended when white people are offended for me. That's when I'm like, But on that same note, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. So basically what it comes down to is another form of slavery, like mental slavery almost, where it's like, no, little colored person. You don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. We know better than you. You should be offended.
Right?
I'm sorry, I don't take orders from retards.
So, offense, just because offense is taken and not given, doesn't mean offense is always taken incorrectly.
Right.
So,
I agree.
Yeah. So, and I have a lot of Native friends.
Mm-hmm.
I love Native people.
Your girl is half Native, isn't
My
she?
girl's half Native. Yeah. I love, even before that, I love Native people. I love the Native culture. I love everything. Growing up in Forest Lawn, growing up in the Southeast, I went out of my way to take myself out of that stereotype. I hung out and partied on the reserves and everything like that. And just because Native culture is the dopest shit. Any culture that has that connection with Earth, I think I need to be closer with that culture because that's where I live.
Right.
But I know a lot of Natives that do get offended with that. I know a lot of and it's, you got to think like this with natives and blacks, the history behind a lot of things is so tarnished, regardless if it's fair, regardless if it's logical. Sometimes it's so tarnished and so poisoned, you just need to kind of step away from that.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about blackface. 150% I feel about blackface. Even with the 6-year-old wearing Aretha Franklin, the parent could have even said, listen, you know what? The blackface maybe is just not something we should do. Let's get you a sign that spells out RESPECT and put your iPod to a Bluetooth speaker and you play Aretha Franklin songs. I understand how that may be like, that's a fucking step that's real ridiculous.
So now
but it's so tarnished. Sometimes shit is so poisoned. So poisoned.
Yeah,
Like,
so
what you're saying is another little girl can't look up to somebody else of a different culture. I'm not.
Every time someone says, so what you're saying it's really followed by a big inflated explanation that has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
Let me finish.
I'm not saying just
that.
you. I just had this conversation at home.
Let me finish that.
What are you pointing at me for?
No. Dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Anyway,
that was because what you just said was extremely inflated, and I feel like you're playing devil's second hand advocate.
You're the devil's prime minister,
right? You're playing Hitler's advocate with me on that
devil's vice president,
because you know exactly what I'm saying. Be like, so what you're saying is little white kids can't like black people.
Well, that's the thing,
because black people is racist.
But I don't understand what you're saying though, Pranal, right? Like the implication behind it is, and you see that in modern culture these days, right? Is you look at TV shows, movies, whatever you have it, right? Any type of pop culture, comics, right? We need to have a black Spider-Man now and an Asian Superman now because blah, blah, blah. Listen, when I was growing up, I loved Superman. I loved Batman. It had, like, their skin color had nothing to do with what I thought about them, right? When I was a kid, me and one of my best friend at the time, we were huge professional wrestling fans. So what did we go as one year for Halloween? We went as the Road Warriors, right? Painted our faces, put on like our dog's collars on our necks.
But did you put pink makeup underneath it and then paint your face?
No.
Because it didn't have to do with it, right?
That had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and that's my point. She, like, at the end of the day, like, no, I'm not saying that she can't look up. She can look up to whoever she wants to. And God bless that little girl for loving Aretha Franklin. She's an icon.
My point is
my thing is like this. Sometimes you have to be sensitive to something, not for SJWs, not for overly sensitive people, because the waters are so poisoned. There's a reason why you don't swim in Chernobyl, Russia.
Okay.
It's not because you shouldn't swim, it's because the waters are so poisoned after many years. So she could still look up to Aretha Franklin with her mom saying, yo, you know what, painting your face, that's a little bit too far. We'll have that conversation when you're older, but we can still have you representing and loving Aretha Franklin the same way.
Okay. Here's where I was going with that. Is that a little girl wanting to look up to Aretha Franklin, a little white girl wanting to look up to, or any race wanting to look up to Aretha Franklin, right?
Is this an actual case?
This is an actual case that happened in the States last year. And now, where I was going is the connotation behind it is that black people have been trying to be equal and trying to have the same, be integrated, for lack of a better term, into society and have society be accepted in society and be equal with all other races, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, them saying that another race cannot look up to or cannot dress as one of her idols for Halloween.
That's not what they're saying.
No, just listen to me. When they say they can't dress up as this little girl cannot dress up as Aretha Franklin for Halloween, it's pretty much saying we want to be equal, but we don't want you guys to be equal.
Okay, hold on. The question I have then is, did this girl want to... Because to preface what I'm about to say, there are proper ways to dress up like Aretha Franklin,
right,
and improper ways to do it,
right. It wasn't blackface she was using. It was a brown makeup with to this skin tone of Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
Don't do it.
And to be absolutely honest, I don't see the point of her having to put on brown makeup
at all.
But that being said, I understand the point you're getting at. Right? If people want to claim... And hold on.
And I'm going
I understand the point you're getting
you're
at.
not.
Right?
I
understand the point you're getting at. Because if someone wants to claim that we're all equal and that all cultures are equal, all races are equal, then there should be no problem. Right? I think we've reached a point culturally...
There wasn't a problem.
Right? We've reached a point culturally where problems are being manufactured now.
But there wasn't a problem. That's my point. And that's where you're misinformed and you're giving out wrong information.
Oh, there wasn't a problem with her doing that?
Nobody had a problem with her dressing up as Aretha Franklin. Nobody had a problem with her dressing up as Aretha Franklin. The fucking makeup, the black face. Almost every comment... And I saw this one, and I went through it because I said, "This is fucking stupid. She can't like Aretha Franklin because the news story or highlight whatever didn't really mention the blackface in it, right? No, it did. It said white girl, 6-year-old white girl dresses up in blackface for Aretha Franklin,
right? And it wasn't blackface.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I looked at it; it wasn't blackface.
Right.
But you look at the comments on that picture. You look at the comments if you go to their I think it was Instagram. They didn't have a problem with her dressing up as Aretha Franklin. She was actually praised for going for Aretha Franklin because black people love it when little white kids love their idols.
Right.
Trust me, this doesn't hit it. It's always when it's touched because the vibration goes through it.
I hear it all the time, the other ones.
So I listened. Okay. So there was praise for her for being Aretha Franklin. There was backlash for the brown makeup.
Okay.
And it was on the same points of why does she have to put on the brown makeup to be Aretha Franklin?
Right. And I think that's why.
But the thing is, but let me continue. Like, black kids dress up as Superman. Black kids dress up as white superheroes. White kids dress up as black superheroes and don't put on the black makeup. So that
not anymore, though.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
So that part was where the backlash came from.
Okay, my only issue with that, and don't get me wrong, I agree with your point. I'm just playing devil's advocate here and just saying what my issue kind of was when I saw the story, is that
plus the headline was pure clickbait. The headline was pure clickbait.
So my son is 6 years old. You have a daughter as well.
I do.
Right. When
I have a couple.
Right.
Like
18.
You have 8 daughters. All right.
8 daughters.
When
they're all married.
When my son wants to go out, my son looks white. He looks light-skinned. Very light-skinned, looks white. If my son wants to go out and be, let's say he wants to go and be Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Right? He's going to dress in the flashy clothes that Stevie had.
The braids.
Right.
The glasses.
He wants the braids. He wants the glasses. But then he's also like, well, how come everything else looks the same, but my face doesn't look the same?
Kids don't really care.
I would say for the most part, you're right, yeah.
Kids don't care.
Right, but here's, on that whole Halloween costume thing, there was a controversy last year.
I see a purple Frankenstein.
Right?
Kids don't care.
Right? I saw, there was a Bless you.
My kid next year wants to dress as the Hulk, and he says we have to have the green paint.
The
Of course.
Hulk's green.
But he's also
Yeah, no,
fictional.
I get that.
Right.
No, I
but
get
the
that.
green is
But-
synonymous
yeah.
for Hulk.
But he's fictional, so.
Yeah.
But
I get that. Black people are fictional.
wow, tell that to your dad. Anyway,
That's what his what? I don't know what else. I don't even know where I was going with that.
right?
That's what
But
his mom said. I don't know.
I can't get pregnant by you. You're fictional. You know? right? But where was I? Yo, train of thought derailed, man. Holy cow!
No survivors.
You
Zero.
know? No. Yeah, last year, right, for
Your train
Halloween.
of thought was derailed by a holy cow.
Yes.
Shout out to India.
Yes. Shout out to Vishnu and whatever. Anyway.
Hare Krishna.
No, there was a controversy with the Black Panther Halloween costume. That there was a white kid modeling it in whatever catalog,
That was stupid.
right? Yeah, to me, that's
And-
absolutely ridiculous.
And I posted on my Twitter. There was a Wakanda Forever shirt. Looked pretty dope. It was like a Wakanda Forever Christmas shirt, and they had a white kid modeling it. And
The sweater.
The sweater, yeah, and the white
Blue
kid.
sweater, yeah.
Yeah, the white kid modeling in the catalog, and there was backlash. And I posted it with the comment: "Black people will protest anything. We're fighting the wrong fight."
Of course.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's not cultural appropriation. It's a fucking Wakanda shirt. Wakanda doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to exactly where we wanted to be right now. This is exactly where this conversation should have started. Now,
So it was like we had a plan.
An hour and 10 minutes in.
right.
I did that on
I
purpose.
meant from the costume part.
Oh,
We're fighting a battle against the wrong lines.
Yeah,
With,
it's an
yeah.
irrelevant fight. It's not going to make
Right.
a difference to anybody
Yeah.
except piss people off.
with the black makeup and shit, I don't even think that needs to be a battle. I think that needs to be a reminder. Hey, it's still a little sensitive.
Yeah.
Let's cool off on that.
Right? But I mean,
But the other shit.
yeah.
So
So
a white
okay,
kid
now,
in the Black Panther. Come on, man.
now someone
Yeah.
like myself, right? If I have a kid with whoever, whatever race,
Hopefully soon. Fuck. Been waiting to be
Right.
an uncle again.
yeah, that kid is going to be very multiracial just out the gate, right? Do they identify with a specific culture that's based on a specific race? Can they? And even me as a child, right? Dressing up as whomever. Sometimes I'd put on makeup, right? Maybe to make me look whiter, maybe to make me look darker. No one in Trinidad gave a damn, right? Because in Trinidad, nobody cares, right? It's not an issue.
Because and
There's
I
not
think
that history,
there's-
right?
Yeah, the history.
Oh no,
of it.
we have a
There's-
slavery history.
There's
for
a slave
sure.
history, but there's not,
right?
There's a slave history, but blackface isn't from the slave history. It's the same thing. Like blackface comes from the history of free niggas in the states, right?
Yeah.
So blackface has a huge history. Native American traditional garb has a history of being mocked and used as costume. And
Yeah.
that's even deeper than blackface because that's a traditional garb.
Yeah.
Which they never like being used. And I have a lot of Native friends that still be like, yo, dog, like, da, da, da. They don't like their traditional things being used as costumes.
Yeah.
But I don't know one kid, and this is speaking from experience, that is dressed up as something for Halloween that wasn't of their race, and at any point they said they need to be that race.
Yeah.
I have a daughter who wants to be Superman, and if you say you're Supergirl, she will punch you in the nuts.
Right.
Because the show sucks.
I wanna
But she doesn't
anyway.
say she wants to be a boy,
Yeah.
and she doesn't say she wants to be white.
Stay there.
She
for
doesn't
just
even
one
want her
second.
hair slicked back.
Let's stay there for
She
one
wants to keep
second.
it frizzy.
She looks like Moana.
All right. Let's stay.
Love you, Gabby.
Let's stay there for 1 second because you addressed two things that I really wanted to get into.
Uh-huh.
Number one was you said she doesn't have. We don't have to put on the blackface to for the little girl to be Aretha Franklin, right? Now, in 2017, Ghost in the Shell. Remember the movie?
Yep.
Ghost in the Shell with.
I haven't seen it yet. It was Charlize.
No, Scarlett Johansson.
Johansson.
So the original was
My
a
other
manga.
crush.
The original was a manga cartoon, right?
Oh.
Asian character.
Was that the one on MTV?
Yeah, it was called
Ghost in the Shell?
Ghost in the Shell. The
I think
manga.
you're thinking heavy metal.
No, I'm thinking Eon Flux.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, on Flux.
Either way, Scarlett Johansson got the lead role. Asian people were upset that Scarlett Johansson wasn't an Asian actress, just saying she was portraying or culturally appropriating this Asian culture because it was originally a manga. What do you guys
But
think?
they weren't mad at her. They were mad at the casting.
They were mad at her
but,
too.
But
The
here's
same-
the thing. The thing is, with manga traditionally, and if you look at a lot of the, I'm going to use the culturally insensitive term Japanimation.
Is that culturally insensitive?
Apparently, it is. Yeah, you can't say Japanimation too tough because people get angry at that.
I love Japanimation.
Right. Anyway,
What are we supposed to call it?
I really
Manga?
don't,
Is it
though.
supposed to be
manga,
called manga?
anime.
I really don't like
I say anime.
manga, Japanimation.
But
It's weird.
I love Japanimation.
a lot of it.
Speed Racer? Fuck.
And I've read articles on this where a lot of the animators admit this. They like portraying their characters as Caucasian. If you look at Ghost in the Shell, the main character can be Caucasian.
But they still have the they still have the slanted eyes. They don't have round eyes.
look at the picture.
Did they have...
I don't know. I've never
Yeah.
seen it.
So let's...
Pull it up.
Let's take it like... Well, a Japanime anime, they have the big round eyes and stuff like that. They have a caricature of what white people look like. a lot
Yeah,
of
so look at
times.
Sailor Moon, right?
Yeah,
Sailor Moon
exactly.
is... If that's not a white girl, I don't know what she is.
So, to take what... That may have been...
You're right.
Yeah. You
Um,
can't... She does not look Asian. No. In the anime.
That's not Asian.
No.
Now, that may have been misdirected.
Is it
Whatever you want to
because
call
it was written by a Japanese artist?
No, well, here's the thing. A lot of Japanese artists like to portray their characters as Caucasian.
No, I get that, but did you think they call it cultural appropriation because it was written by a Japanese artist? They thought it should have been portrayed by a Japanese actor?
Possibly that. I don't know what's in the head of crazy people.
But
so.
this is the thing. So let's take this situation. This situation, right? This may have been misdirected, but look at Gods of Egypt.
Yeah.
Now that
Refresh my memory?
Gods of Egypt is a movie about Egyptian gods.
Yeah, it came out a couple of years
Thanks.
ago.
I don't know how to explain that. Even
I enjoyed
better.
the movie. I thought it was
I
hilarious.
thought it was a good movie. I thought the acting was horrible.
Yes. It is
But-
definitely one of those movies you watch on a Sunday afternoon
Yeah.
with popcorn.
There was a large. Your movie nights sound like they're fucking fun.
They are.
I need to be invited to one of these motherfuckers. But there was a huge backlash because none of the Egyptian gods were depicted as what the Egyptian gods look like or by people of color. It was all white Europeans. And I'm not talking European white people. I'm talking about white people from Europe. And that has a huge backlash. So that's along the same lines of this.
Yeah.
But maybe a little more something you could relate, something that could be relatable. So what do you guys think about that? Whereas
Well-
like you have like Egyptian, like Horus and all that, but they're depicted by
Fictional people.
straight white people.
Fictional
Yeah,
people.
but here's
Horus
the thing.
wasn't fictional.
Here's the thing. With Egypt is a very funny place because it's kind of like the meeting of Europe and Africa, right? So the first engineering job I had, the owner of the company was Egyptian. And if you saw this guy just out in the blue without talking to him, you would swear he was a white man. Right? But Egyptian through and through, born and raised in Egypt.
So would you say that this is a misplaced fight as well?
It is. It's absolutely a misplaced. Here's
absolutely
the
is.
thing. Why are we fighting over fictional depictions of things? Right? It
Because-
makes no sense. At the end of the day, nothing is stopping anyone from doing what they deem to be the correct portrayal. Right? What it comes down to is but what it comes down to is this, right?
Hollywood's little.
I don't know, man, because with the rise of what's his face that does
Other stuff.
yeah, that stuff.
With the rise
You know,
of
the
what's
guy-
his face
the
that does
guy,
other stuff
you
with
know,
the
that
guy.
does stuff,
Okay, one last.
right? But hold on, Tyler Perry. Right, you can't tell me that someone like Tyler Perry doesn't have enough money to do the proper interpretation according to him or according to whoever is
Directing,
Afrocentric.
But I've
of
never
what
seen
Egypt should
Medea
be.
in Egypt.
Right? But yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right?
I bet you he'll do it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying though, right? Like the money is there, the motivation doesn't seem to be there though.
Yeah.
Right? What it really boils down to is be the change you want to see. Right? Stop complaining and do it. If you think it's that stupid, then do it properly.
Black people stop making movies about slaves.
Yes.
Stop making movies about slaves where we're saved by a white dude.
Yes.
Keep on making movies like Get Out.
Right.
Stop calling them horror movies.
Right?
Don't
Exactly.
stop calling them horror movies. That shit was a comedy.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to get into before what you said there was gender and sexuality. Now, there's a lot of people in the transgender community, or in the gay community, in the LGBTQ community, I guess, that have a problem with people being cast, straight actors being cast as cisgender actors, as trans acting roles, gay roles. There's a big kind of a movement going on there. What do you guys think of that? Is there any good? Do you know any good trans actors that you would see on film?
Yeah, I know a few gay actors. I don't know the names or anything like that. But
I don't know
I've
any
probably
trans
seen them in
actors.
Yeah,
roles.
trans,
I don't know any
though.
trans actors. I feel like I can't wait till we get into the fucking time, the point in times where someone doesn't have to come out as gay. Someone doesn't have. It's not news when someone comes out as trans, and black people aren't happy because a black nigga did shit. Like I just want the time where
As
shit
opposed to a white nigga?
Yeah, as opposed to a white nigga, a wigger. So I want to get to those times where it's like so and so who plays basketball is gay, and motherfuckers is like, and what? Just keep scoring points. But at that point, I'm so sick and tired of what people are that defines them.
Right.
Yeah, if you're going to be defined by a characteristic that you have no control over, that's ridiculous.
Right.
Right? And the problem too is you see a lot of these movies and TV shows and whatever where and you don't even see this with black people, right? Sanford and Son didn't have to come out and be like, "Hi, we're funny, but we're also black."
Right?
Right? Bill Cosby didn't have to come out and be like, "I'm black, guys,
But I'm also
right?
funny.
But I'm also funny,"
And
right? So,
I like to rape.
but what you're seeing, like,
I don't know if he liked it.
He had to have. All
What-
that power you could have.
what was that video game that came out a couple of years ago? Mass Effect, right? The latest Mass Effect, Mass Effect Andromeda. There was a gay character in it, and the first thing out this person's mouth was, "I'm gay." I'm paraphrasing, but does that add to your character? No,
Dog,
right?
I had a
Just
friend,
just write good characters.
I had a friend, and there's a few of us out for drinks, and we were drinking, and he got a little drunk and brave, and then he just outed himself at the table, and like half of the table was shocked and be like, "Oh," and and he's like, "Well, man, you know what I'm saying?" I'm like, "Dog, I know." He's like, "How'd you know?" It's like, "Dog, like you're gay. Okay, cool. Like we've had conversations, and you're like, okay, yeah, you're gay." And he's like, "Oh, that doesn't like no, dog. You're a good dude. You've helped me when I needed help. You've took shifts that I need taken. I don't give a fuck who you fucking."
I just won't bend over if I drop my wallet.
Even if I, you know what? No, at the end, no, dog. I'll tell you like this.
You're getting
Anyone-
fired from the internet.
I'll tell you like
Thank
this.
you.
Any one of my gay friends, I will change in front of them, underwear and all, because they know me and I know them. If a girl changes in front of you, naked and puts clothes on, are you gonna not be able to help yourself out and throw your dick in her?
No.
We're talking,
That's
we're
my
talking
point.
about Parnell here.
But still, seriously, that's my point. That's my point. Just because you fuck dudes doesn't mean you're overly sexualized and gonna rape some random dude.
It's true.
I'm like, we know, like, that's not saying that we're gonna, like, I've been I've been to the gym with my gay friends, been naked with my gay friends, put my clothes back on, and still walked out the gym straight. Fucking miracle.
Anyways, let's get into some
Maybe
other
after,
things.
no, but my whole point is this. What was my point?
I don't know.
What was
That's what I'm
my
trying to
point?
train of
We're
thought
talking about
derailed.
something. That's my whole point. But my whole point is like this. We're talking about this. Ask me the question about the gender shit again. Oh yeah. I know. Like if you look at Empire, the gay dude on Empire is gay. He's cast as gay.
the gay dude's gay.
The gay dude's casted as gay. But I feel like this: if you cast a straight dude and he plays gay, and you believe that shit, you're getting a good movie. 'Cause
Right.
he's a good actor.
Right.
If you, I don't give a fuck. If you cast a trans dude as even that, what's that movie, that TV show that is like Empire, but it's Queen Latifah, Star. There's a trans actor in Star who plays trans. I feel like people just need to fight something, and they're fighting.
Right.
There's not enough trans people playing trans people. There's not a lot of trans people on television.
There's not
I'm
a lot
glad-
of trans people on Earth.
Right. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that right there, that people are just trying to fight something just to fight something. Because I'm going to give you some responses for cultural appropriation, what people have tried to do to claim as cultural appropriation. So, in
Am I allowed to riff on this, or just like you just talking? And we're
no,
done?
give me 5 minutes here. A group of students at not 5. Don't look at your watch. You know what I mean.
It's 0808.
Okay.
808. Boom, boom. Anyway.
A group of students at Ohio University started a poster campaign denouncing the use of cultural stereotypes as costumes. The campaign features people of color alongside the respective stereotypes with slogans such as, "This is not who I am and this is not okay." The goal of the movement was to raise awareness around racism during Halloween in the university and the surrounding community, but the images also circulated online. Another one called Reclaim the Bindi has become a hashtag used by some people of South Asian descent who wear traditional garb. The object to its use by people not of their culture. At the 2014 Coachella Festival, one of the most noted fashionable trends was the bindi, a traditional Hindu headmark. As pictures of the festival surfaced online, there was public controversy over the casual wearing of the bindi by non-Indian individuals who did not understand the meaning behind it. Coachella Shutdown, hashtag Coachella Shutdown, has been used in conjunction with hashtag Reclaim the Bindi in order to protest against the use of the bindi at music festivals. Most notably, the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival reclaimed the Bindi Week in his event, which seeks to promote the traditional cultural significance
We're
of the
talking Hindus,
Bindi
not Sikhs.
and combat its use as a fashion statement.
Just so people don't know what the bindi is, it's the jewels in the middle of the forehead. Keep going.
Right.
Or the dot.
The dot, right?
dot, yeah.
So, and that was just some
Red dot, no feather.
Red dot. That was just some people trying to speak out, about cultural appropriation, trying to say this is not okay. Here are some criticisms of the concept.
Yes.
So John McWhorter, a professor at Columbia University, has criticized the concept, arguing that cultural borrowing and cross-fertilization is a generally positive thing and is something which is usually done out of admiration with no intent to harm, which we've already discussed. The cultures being imitated, he also argued that the specific term appropriation, which can mean theft, is misleading when applied to something like culture that is not seen by all as a limited resource. Mm-hmm. Unlike appropriating a physical object, others imitating an idea taken from one's group culture don't inherently deprive that originating group of its use.
Yeah.
Right? So that was one time somebody has come out and said, you know what, this is fucking ridiculous. Kind of the same thing we've said.
They're missing the levels. Keep going.
Yeah, here's the next level. In 2016, author Lionel Shriver gave a speech at the Brisbane Writers Festival. What? Brisbane? Brisbane? You just laughing?
Just made me laugh when you corrected yourself, and it still didn't sound right to me.
Asserting the right of authors to write from any point of view, including that of characters from cultural backgrounds other than their own. As writers should, quote, should be seeking to push beyond the constraining categories into which we have been arbitrarily dropped by birth. If we embrace narrow group-based identities too fiercely, we cling to the very cages in which others would seek to trap us. Mm-hmm. She also asserted the right of authors from a cultural majority to write in the voice of someone with a cultural minority, attacking the idea that this constitutes unethical cultural appropriation and hashtags, referring to a case in which U.S. college students were facing disciplinary action for wearing sombreros to a tequila party. The moral of the sombrero scandal is clear. You're not supposed to try on other people's hats. Yet that's what we're paid to do, isn't it? Step into other people's shoes and try on their hats, speaking as a writer.
Absolutely.
Sudanese-Australian social activist, I can't say her name, walked out to Shriver's speech. Abdel Magdir later wrote a dissenting opinion piece published in The Guardian, which has run on several series of articles covering debate over cultural appropriation matters. In it, she called the speech a poisoned package drafted in arrogance and delivered with condensation.
What? Condensation?
No,
condescension.
There you go. She reiterated the basic premises and arguments, which form.
She wrote her shit, spoke her shit, and got wet.
Right. She reiterated the basic premises and arguments from the ideological basis of cultural appropriation as stated in the above sections regarding majority, minority, group identity, oppression, colonialism. I said it right, etc., but did not address Shriver's arguments about the merits of imagination and intellectual freedom.
Okay. I go back to the picture of my grandfather and his family. Okay. My great-grandfather was from India. My great-grandmother, his wife, was the daughter of slaves.
His wife.
Right? Was the daughter of slaves. So you had an East Indian man.
Yeah.
And a black woman, right? And this guy, my great-grandfather, was as East Indian as you get. And his wife was as black as you get.
And their kid was an Indian.
And their kid was what we call in the Caribbean a Dogla. Right? Dogla meaning half white, half black, half East Indian.
My dad.
Right? All of their children, in the photograph that I have bindis on them. Is that halfway cultural appropriation? Are they not allowed to have bindis?
It's not cultural appropriation because I don't even know why I'm putting a letter in front of it. It's not cultural appropriation because that's their culture. Their father is that.
Yeah, but their mother isn't.
Doesn't matter.
You know what I'm saying?
But doesn't matter. My father is it, their mother isn't. A and B, they're wearing it because of who they are. Mm-hmm. Now, my whole thing is like this. That's because they're wearing it because of who they are.
Yeah.
If you're born white, raised by whites, in a white neighborhood, and you love the culture to the point where you want to adapt pieces of that culture and give back to that culture, study that culture, and you start wearing a bindi because you put in the work to know what it actually means to wear a bindi.
Yeah.
You know what it actually means to have that and do that. That's not cultural approach. That's not the negative connotation of, I said it right with you, I appreciate that, of cultural appropriation. If for a photo shoot or for Halloween, you're wearing it as an accessory or a fashion statement and you have no idea what's behind it, that is the negative connotation of cultural appropriation, which should be and
Why is it negative?
It's a negative connotation of it because you did not do what I previously said, put in the work for it. I'll tell you like this. My dad, when Malcolm X gear was popping, X hats, cross colors had the X and stuff and da-da-da-da, and I asked my dad to get, I'm like, Dad, I want to get this, da-da-da-da, right? It's the Malcolm X wear. That's what hot, da-da-da. He said, no, you're not going to wear this until you read his autobiography.
Yep, and that doesn't mean watch the movie with Denzel.
No, and this was before the movie with Denzel. And I read both versions of his autobiography. I needed to put in work before I could wear something that represents something I have no idea for. And I do feel if you wear something and you have no idea what it actually represents, it's the negative part of cultural appropriation because you're not looking into what it means to wear that.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
You being the sole representative of African American culture here.
Right.
And this question actually hit me after watching recently an episode of The Fresh Prince.
Okay.
Right, where something similar happened in the episode. History class, Will is sitting there and he gets an F on his history exam.
Because he thought the black was going to be a breeze. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right? So Aunt Viv becomes the professor teaching them black history.
I remember now, yeah.
And
original Aunt Viv.
yeah, and Will still doesn't do well. And she was a beautiful lady too. She had a hell of a figure.
The original Aunt Viv?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, she was
hell of a figure.
I love the original Aunt Viv. The one where she was doing the jazzercise.
Oh!
And there was like, pop it, and she beat up all the young girls.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, I love old pussy. As soon as I saw that, I said, I love old girls.
Anyway.
Ever since then, I never dated. Ever since that episode came out, I never dated under 20.
Just MILFs, yeah.
And I was young.
Yeah, she had a hell of a figure. Right?
Anyways.
So the lesson of that episode was, you know what, there's a fashion to the culture, right? There's a fashion to African American culture, and a lot of people get caught up in that. Do you believe, and this is going to sound very strange, but bear with me, do you believe that there are African Americans who appropriate their own culture?
From my statement earlier on, yes, because I've done it.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I've dressed, talked, acted, drank, smoked. I didn't drink 40s until Eazy-E told me he was sipping on one.
Right.
I didn't smoke weed till I started listening to the Chronic.
Right.
African Americans do appropriate their culture.
Wait,
Is that
just growing up and realizing what the culture is, though, or is that appropriating the culture? You understand the meaning behind it? Why he was drinking?
I know. I was 13 years old. I
Right,
didn't understand the meaning of what anything Eazy-E did.
But what you're getting what I'm saying is most African Americans get their culture from it's a music standpoint, right? And most
No, wrong. It's the opposite.
I'm waiting.
Okay, I'm talking. African Americans now may get their culture from a music standpoint, but you need to remember it was their culture that brought the music out.
No, I get
so
that.
in the most part, people are rapping about what other people are already living. The fashion was already a fashion. If you think about it, when Run DMC came out, they came out dressed the way they were dressed. Nobody was dressed that way that you saw on TV. Everybody from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, Kool Moe Dee, all them were trying to emulate the hip hop they were trying, actually not even the hip hop version. They're trying to look like Disco and Rick James.
Yeah.
They had the fox furs, the knee-high fucking boots, the patches over their fucking eye, the 48 fucking belts, the no shirt on with a vest with a nipple out. And then Run DMC said, we're going to dress like they're dressed in the streets.
Yeah.
Baggy clothes came from the streets. What they talked about, you look at, who's the grimiest group I can think of ever, other than Onyx? Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep taught us what the streets of Queens were like. Nas may have taught us the politics of the streets, but Mobb Deep taught us the survival of the streets. I, being black, having family in the States, appropriated hip hop culture because none of that was a part of anything I saw,
Right.
fashion wise or anything. It was maybe when I was in my formidable years. Maybe that's what it was because everybody else was dressing like
I
what
think
they
you
saw on
meant
the
formative
album.
years.
Okay, so
Formative?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Formidable.
I was that too.
okay, so
You're
let me
formidable in your formative
let
years.
me ask you a question then. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
African American culture, black culture in North America.
Mm-hmm.
There's this negative connotation behind it from other cultures, from the music. There used to be, anyway. Right? We dress how we dress.
What's the negative connotations? So I have context.
Just when gangster rap first came out, the bad press behind that, the guns on album covers, the fucking the drug dealing, all the bling
glorifies
bling,
criminal
right?
activity.
You're right, that right.
Oh, okay.
Right. So,
Yeah.
growing up, I didn't want to be like those guys, but I wanted to be a rapper.
Right.
Right. Growing up, I mean, even now, I dress like this, but there was a time in my life where I dressed business-wise, I guess is the best way to put it, right? I don't want to say what, I don't want to say whatever, but business-wise, right? Suit or button-up and clothes that fit.
But let me tell you like this. It's not...
Well, let me get to my question first. I want to know...
Hurry up and get to it.
I'm getting there. Relax. When... Is it black culture to have baggy jeans and follow rap music, or is that hip hop culture? Are there different levels to black culture in
But,
like African American?
I think there are different levels to it, but the baggy jeans in particular, that's a fashion born out of poverty.
Born out of poverty in
Right?
jail. Yep.
Right? It's definitely like, my brother is 18 years old and I'm only 11, but my parents don't have enough money to buy me new jeans. So
I can tell you
guess
the
I'm-
fashion state. Yeah, I can tell you the fashion statements I made because I had to, and then I was just happy that the shit came popular. And I can tell you the fashion statements that I made because it was popular. Now, yeah, the appropriation of black culture wasn't a negative appropriation. It was an appropriation of something that I could identify with. Does that make sense?
That's from your point of view.
My
yeah.
point of view.
Yeah.
I can identify with it
Yeah.
because I finally
And then-
seen people that look like me and acted like me, and I'm like, this is me.
Yeah.
So this is how I should dress and act. And then after years of being from young to old, I figure out the positive and negatives of dressing and acting. That's where I get to it. I don't drink 40s no
And
more.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that you were able to recognize that these were people that look like you, and not necessarily acted like you at the time, but you wanted to be like them, right? And the reason I say I'm glad you said this is because I felt the same way. I grew up in small town Alberta, like most of our listeners know, and it was mostly white people, right? All country, farmers, and everybody I went to school with. It was me and my sister, the only colored people in the towns, right?
And you didn't have anybody that looked like you.
Didn't have anybody that looked like me, anybody to kind of look up to except my father, right?
You can identify
So
with,
when
yeah.
when I first heard Rap Tracks 2, when I first heard MC Hammer,
Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him?
yes, Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, it was one of those. I saw the tape cover. A friend of mine from Calgary, a white guy from Calgary, brought it out when he was visiting us. And I said, "Yo, this is dope, man." I didn't say dope. I said, "Hey, man, this is pretty fucking neat." Right? It made me realize that there's other cultures, there's other things I could strive to be besides what I see around me.
But
Right?
yeah.
And I think
yeah.
that ties in very nicely to cultural appropriation, because I don't feel I appropriated a culture. I feel I integrated into that culture.
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
you appreciated it rather than appropriated it, right? Because, you don't go around right now saying, yo, Hammer, don't hurt him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yo, Kobo, don't hurt him.
well, I don't,
I
but...
I definitely feel like I appreciated it. Appropriated it.
Yeah, and that was pretty much my
you sure?
question, like... Because I understand your point, right? You didn't grow up in Compton, or you didn't grow up in the Bronx, right? Like, with hip-hop in particular, I always liked hip-hop. Right, but I was never one of those guys that was like, "Yo, I'm strictly hip hop and I'm only wearing baggy
Yeah, you
jeans."
listen
and-
to like Megadeth and
yeah,
whatever.
I listen to Metallica and I listen to Def Leppard and stuff as well. Like Trinidad is such a messed up place when you think about it culturally, though. Like nobody cares that way, right? I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, the Mighty Sparrow, Bob Marley, and Def Leppard.
Right.
Fuck, Def
Right.
Leppard was my first CD. Let's Get Rocked.
Yeah.
Was my first. I remember I got a CD player for Christmas and no CDs. I went to the 7-Eleven
Yeah.
and bought Def Leppard, and I played that CD till the CD wouldn't be played no more.
Right? So I think you look at it and you go, Will is not. You can't accuse Will of culturally appropriating white people,
Right.
right? So
But you can, but you'd be wrong.
yeah, and on the flip side, a white kid who appreciates NWA or NAS or something, you can't look at them and go, well, they're appropriating black culture. Right?
It's just the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing to have these.
It's a scapegoat for.
It's definitely a scapegoat.
It's a scapegoat for people that are just upset that people that aren't them are liking what they like.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's like you be careful for what you wish for.
Because you just might get it.
And hip hop culture has got. I mean, at the end of I say hip hop culture because I've never heard anybody other than black people say cultural appropriation. And it's hip hop black people. Hootie and the Blowfish never said it once. Nobody said nothing to Hootie about cultural appropriation. And that's the
10 points if you
countryest
tell me what
motherfucker.
10 points if you tell me what Hootie's real name is.
I get no points.
Darius Rucker.
I would. That's a black ass fucking name.
Right?
Remember Fishbone?
Yeah.
Nobody said nothing to Fishbone.
Oh yeah, and then I was listening to this the other day. There's a group, I believe they're from the UK, called Skin Dread. Right? These guys are hard rock dance hall artists.
Okay, shit.
Right?
Okay.
Absolutely awesome. Right? But again, no cultural appropriation leveled at them. Right? At the end of the day, it's not only if you want to claim that we are all the same, but we are all the same. Right?
Yeah.
Right? On an individual level, we are all the same. We have the same, unless you're a madman or a crazy person or whatever, right? We have generally the same motives and the same, feelings and whatnot about things, right? So, cultural appropriation, highly overblown, right? Highly overblown. It's ridiculous. It's fighting a battle that doesn't need to be fought. And I think I have exhausted my...
Yeah. I still, I'm definitely at a confusion in my thoughts on whether I appropriated or integrated into hip-hop culture. Because I didn't start out... I wasn't born into hip-hop culture.
Well, when you were born, there wasn't really a hip-hop culture to speak of.
Well, I was born... it wasn't a hip-hop culture, but if I was born in September 1st, 1980 in Brooklyn... Or was it Brooklyn? Yeah, in Brooklyn, I would have been born into hip-hop culture.
Well, not
So I would have been,
necessarily, because you think
going
about
to the
1980,
parties.
that was like the genesis of breakdancing. And you have to remember too, right? Like a lot of the breakdance culture, which morphed into hip-hop, was a combination of black and Latino cultures.
So yeah, true. So and the New York gang culture when they wanted to combine and stop the killing. But okay, so maybe not born into it. So maybe what I'm trying to say is I would have been born and directly influenced by it in real time, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
So
yeah, it's a funny thing, and hip hop culture in particular is a very funny quote unquote culture, right?
But if you think-
because it's a new culture.
it's a new culture,
Right, and it continues to change. Like hip
a
hop culture today is
yeah.
very different than what it was 10 years ago.
Hip hop culture.
Absolutely.
It's like a chameleon. It changes to survive.
Right.
It's weird.
I don't know. I think it's dying, but that's just my
No,
thoughts.
but hip hop culture isn't that. It's so. This is the fucking thing. This is what I want you on to smoke because I want to discuss this. Is hip hop culture dying, or is the death of hip hop culture bringing the real hip hop back?
Don't answer that.
Because there's so many
we're gonna leave the listeners on a cliffhanger.
I
love
fuck
it.
the mainstream
Don't answer
shit,
that.
but
Yeah.
I have albums to show you where you're like, fuck, this shit as far as real hip hop wasn't out 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, no. And there's guys that I listen to right now, like Guilty Simpson, for example. You know that dude? Yeah,
And then Guilty Simpson,
Right?
Southern Carolina. South
absolutely
Carolina, yeah.
wicked, right? Or Hobson, absolutely
Hobbs is
wicked.
so, he just came out with a new freestyle. It was so dope.
Static Selector,
Static Selector.
and Terminology.
Static
Still
Selector's been around.
1982
Oh, yeah.
or 1984.
84.
This album.
84, 85. Anyway, you have to read?
Do you want me to read?
Well, no, do the read. Do the read for Lex.
Yo, listen. This podcast was brought to you by. I don't know why he's telling me to do the read now, because I don't even have it open. Tell me who the podcast was brought to you by, and I'll go off of you.
Podcast has been brought to you by Lex, 17th Avenue, Chinook Mall, the hype beast.
All of you, listen. Anybody listening, and you like clothes, you like shoes, you like fanny packs, you like accessories. I'm not even talking. I'm talking accessories.
All right.
I'm talking bags. I'm talking backpacks. I'm talking throwbacks. I'm
belts.
talking Michelin Ness. I'm talking belts.
Belt buckles.
Glasses. They had glasses there.
Yeah.
Listen, you need to hit up Lex, 17th Avenue and Chinook Center. Chinook Center. If you Calgary, Alberta, Chinook Center is probably going to be your main spot. You may even get to meet the dude. All of your hype beast needs. They got every single thing for you. I went in there and I almost bought a Supreme fucking boxing jacket that was leopard.
I would have laughed at you.
It was, you would have laughed at me, but
And I would
mean,
have tried to rob you.
I'm more confident in myself. I laugh at myself every day. I'm like, nigga, you a clown. Then I walk out and strut. Yeah, hit up Lex, 17th Avenue in Chinook. They got everything for your high speed needs. They got for as far as shoes, they got Jordan. They got I think I saw Bapes in there.
No, that's close. For shoes, they got Reebok. They got Reebok, Adidas, Nike.
Yeah, these
Jordan,
Yeezys,
like they got
in there.
everything you need. Trust me, they got everything.
Listen, if you want to be fashionable, if you want to be up to date, and you want to be current, you need to hit up Lex. You need to go in there. The prices are better than any price you will get anywhere. It's better than shopping online. You have to deal with none of that come from China shit. This is pure, authentic shit.
Listen, you don't have to worry about fakes. That's the thing about this, right?
Isn't that what I just said?
I know what I'm saying. I'm reiterating what you said. Shoes, especially, it's a big thing that you might get fakes, right? There's so many shops that have fake shoes. These are authenticated in-house by their own authenticators.
Nice.
Yes. And now we've got that out of the way. Let's get closings out of the way. Will Hayes, give me your final thoughts on cultural appropriation.
If you love and your love is pure, represent, and you'll be sure.
Can I get something that's
Nice.
not a lyric?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Cultural appropriation is the domain of spoiled,
White kids.
entitled, well, not even just white kids, but spoiled, entitled people in general, right? Who have nothing better to do with their time than be outraged by every little thing, right? I always think of it this way. If you were starving, you had to hustle for your food and struggle and whatever, you wouldn't, the last thing on your mind would be who's appropriating whose culture, right? So be real, grow up here, and stop being a whiny little child.
Bitch!
I like that. I'm going to say this. We're all one race. The world has worked many, many years, and cultures are very diverse by being integrated.
Don't look at me.
I know, you laughing.
No, just do your ending. I'm not laughing at you, but you look me in my eyes and it's funny.
When we try to find the negative in a situation, you'll find it. If you try to outline what's good, you'll find that as well. Let's look on the good instead of the negative. Stop focusing on what is detrimental to us and start focusing on what could we be, what a world culture could look like, instead of trying to find things to be upset about. As John said, this outrage is getting out of control. I'm going to leave you with a quote here. No, I'm not going to leave you the quote. Fuck it. I'm going to say,
I could leave you with a quote.
well, I'm going to say acts of appropriation are part of the process by which we make ourselves. Appropriating, taking something for one's own use, need not be synonymous with exploitation. This is especially true for cultural appropriation. The use one makes of this is what is appropriated is a crucial factor.
Well, I'll leave you guys with a quote from Voltaire.
I was going to read Voltaire.
This whole cultural appropriation thing. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
There you go. I'm going to leave you with this, the last quote. I'm going to leave you with Karl Marx.
Whoa.
And it's based on communism, but it applies. Communism deprives no man of the power to appropriate the products of society. All that it does is deprive him of the power to subjugate the labor of others by means of such appropriation. It has been objected that upon the abolition of private property, all work will cease and universal laziness will overtake us. According to this, bourgeois society ought long ago to have gone to the dogs through sheer idleness. For those of its members who work acquire nothing, and those who acquire nothing do not work. Take everything I said about communism in there and apply it to cultural appropriation. It's 100% true.
I'm going to give you a quote because I don't want to feel left out.
Can you read?
Huh?
Can you read?
Damn.
Can I read what?
Where'd you get that?
Listen. Appropriation, whatever. Just think about someone that loves what your quote unquote culture is and give it to them like this. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. And if you see someone that's acting like you, acting like your culture, don't take it as an offense. Take it as love. And love
Imitation
them
is the
back.
sincerest form of flattery.
Exactly. If somebody loves what the fuck that you love,
Right.
and you love them back, you just made what you both love stronger. Peace out. And with that, we out this motherfucker.